All right, this video is how to draw boxes in two-point perspective. When drawing any kind of perspective, the first thing you should start with is a horizon line. So take a ruler, draw a straight line, please. And then we are doing two-point perspective, so you will have a vanishing point at each end of the line, the left vanishing point and the right vanishing point. Throughout the duration of our treehouse project, I will refer to those vanishing points a lot. Sometimes I will call them go to the left, go to the right, left vanishing point, right vanishing point, LVP, RVP. Okay, moving on. When you want to draw a box, you are going to start with a vertical line. The first box we're going to draw is going to be on the horizon line. The next one's going to be above the horizon line, and then the next one will be below. So I am going to kind of scooch this guy over a little bit to the left. I'm going to start with a vertical line. Not too big because we do need to draw a couple more boxes. After you have this vertical line drawn in, make a point at the top and the bottom of the line. Now these 2 points are both going to get connected to the left vanishing point, and then they are both going to get connected to the right vanishing point. This shape will end up looking like a diamond or a kite. So go ahead and connect these points to the vanishing points, both of them. So both top and bottom to the left, then I'm going to do top and bottom to the right. All right, so now we have it where it's looking like a diamond or a kite or something like that. In order to finish our box on the horizon line, we only have to do 2 more lines. They are verticals. So we're going to go on the right and do a vertical, and on the left. Here you can decide how wide you want your box to be. I'm going to make mine really narrow on the right side and then kind of wide on the left side, okay? Like it's a big rectangular box. Try to make sure these lines are perfectly vertical, not diagonal. I'm going to redo that one. That was a little messy. Okay. Now the next thing we're going to do is you're going to erase your excess or the lines you no longer need. So from these X's over to the vanishing point is all extra. We don't need that business. So what I'm going to do, I like to do in this practice, and since it's not a real project, I like to do kind of a lazy erasing so that you can tell when you're looking at it, like what lines are the excess, but you can also tell if you were wondering, like in drawing this in your final project, if you were like, where did that line go? And you look at it and you follow it all and you're like, oh yeah, it connected to the right vanishing point. That makes sense, okay? All right, so that is our first box. Later on when we get onto the treehouse, I am going to talk about how different planes that are facing different directions receive different amount of lighting, okay? Different amounts of lighting. I don't know if I said that correctly. Sometimes my thoughts don't catch up with my mouth. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to shade that guy a little bit so you can see the right side. You don't need to do this, guys. I'm just trying to show you that, you know, there'll always be one side that's a little darker than the other. Okay, now we're going to move above the vanishing point. So I'm going to draw a box up here. So as you might have guessed, I'm going to start with a vertical line just floating up here in this space, okay? Don't go too close to the horizon line. Don't go too close to the top or to the sides. Try and have it just be right in the middle of this area. I think it'll just simplify our next steps from here, okay? You do want to have a good amount of space underneath it because when something goes above you, you tend to see the bottom of it. So if you're thinking about like walking under a balcony and you look up, you'd see the bottom of that balcony. Or if you're walking under a bridge, you'd see the bottom of the bridge, okay? So whenever something becomes above your horizon line, which by the way, your horizon line could also be kind of known as your eye line. It's kind of where your view is, okay? But yeah, anything that goes above, you'll see the bottom of it. So we're going to start the same exact way we started the last box. Make a dot at the top and a dot at the bottom. Connect both of those dots down to the left vanishing point. Now in this one, you don't have to go all the way there, you guys. Like even though my ruler is touching the left vanishing point, you don't necessarily need to take your line all the way there. Probably a lot of you will have a line that like hits this box. Just stop when you hit that box. You don't need to go all the way through it. On the right side, I'm going to connect both of these to my right vanishing point. By the way, make sure your vanishing points aren't too big. Sometimes I have people that have a vanishing point that's like ½ an inch tall, and then you'll have lines that are going to the top and the bottom, so they're really not connected to the same point at all. They're like, you know, ½ an inch apart. So right now we're looking like a big arrow. I took the top and bottom point, I connected them down to the left, connected them down to the right, and it's kind of looking like an arrow just poking up into the sky. We are going to do the exact same thing we did on the box on the horizon line. So at this point we came in and we added 2 vertical lines. These 2 vertical lines will establish the width of your box. So once more, you guys can decide if you want it to be narrow or wide. Make sure these lines are perfectly vertical, not slanted. A lot of people want to slant these outward like this. Don't do that. Look at the edge of your paper as a marker to say, okay, yeah, that really does look like a vertical line, okay? All right, now in just a moment, we are going to start drawing the bottom of the box. In order to draw the bottom of the box, what you're going to identify is the bottom of this vertical that we just drew and the bottom of this vertical. If you were to get rid of your excess, you would see that those kind of make like a corner here. There's a corner here and a corner here. So your lowest corners on your box, the two lowest ones, are the ones that we are going to be using to create the bottom of the box, okay? On the bottom, you're going to get a line that normally would be parallel to this line. However, when seen in perspective, the back of the box will get a little bit smaller. So this one is going to go to the vanishing point, and it's going to look like it actually gets a little closer to this guy. You know, if you're looking at a photograph or something in two-point perspective, these aren't actually getting closer. They just look smaller in the distance, okay? Remember, your eyes perceive things that are farther away as being smaller. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the bottom left corner, and I'm going to connect that guy down to the right vanishing point, and then I'm going to take the bottom right corner, and I'm going to connect that one down to the left. So basically on the bottom, I have a little rhyme that goes crisscross applesauce. You're going to take them to the opposites, okay? So I'm going to line up the bottom left to the right and the bottom right to the left. Now again, I'm going to hit this box over here when I draw this line. So I don't even need to go all the way there. I'm not going to need all that. I could actually stop when I hit that line too, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of my excess. And I'm going to do another lazy erasing so you can see where the excess is. You know what else? Sorry, let me darken this line up a little bit. There we go. So now you can really see the back corner of that box. So that's the bottom. So if I was to shade these in, like let's say you were shading in a treehouse, this bottom corner, or this whole bottom plane actually, would be receiving a lot less light from the top. Usually outside, you know, the sun is your light source, so the top and sides kind of receive more light. So there's the shadow for the bottom of the box. You might even want to get a little bit darker, kind of like up in this zone, and kind of fade over as you go. And then this one over here, I'm going to kind of stick with my light source being on the left. So I'm going to give this guy kind of just like a nice medium gray. Not as dark as the bottom. Definitely not as light as that side that's in the light. Okay. There we go. I'm just going to gray that down a little bit so you can really see that sense of space. And don't be afraid later when you're shading your treehouse to really get kind of exaggerated with those shadows to really make that sense of depth and space even more obvious. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is draw the box below the horizon line. If another teacher's showing this video, I'd actually kind of like to pause it and kind of see if kids can get started on their own. Like remember the steps they started with. You start with a vertical, connect the top and bottom to both vanishing points. Then you draw your verticals and you crisscross applesauce for the top, okay? Remember, if you're going over a box, then you're going to see the top of it. Like this art box here, I can obviously, it's below my horizon line, so I can see the two sides and the top, okay? All right, guys, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start with a vertical line. If you haven't paused the video, maybe do that. Let kids try it on their own. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead in and start with a vertical just down here in this space. Then I'm going to take the top and bottom of those vertical lines, as you might have guessed. I'm going to connect them both to the left vanishing point, both to the right vanishing point. Now, obviously, we've had a lot of excess here. So at this point in our third box, if you don't want to take your line all the way there, that's fine. Just kind of take it a ways over. You don't really know how wide you want to make your box, so give you some, but you don't need to go all the way. Just make sure that your ruler is indeed touching that vanishing point when you go to start drawing this line. So I'm lining my ruler up at the bottom and the right vanishing point, not taking the line all the way there, just more to erase. I'm going to decide how wide I want my box to be, and I'm going to draw in some verticals. And then on the top, I'm going to do a crisscross applesauce, okay? So on the top left corner is going to go to the right. The top right corner is going to go to the left. And I can stop those lines when they hit one another, okay? So I'm going to start with my top left going over to the right vanishing point. Remember, you're crissing and crossing. So this guy's going to go to the right. This guy's going to go to the left. Line up my left corner, right vanishing point, drawing that line. And then I'm going to line up my right corner here to the left vanishing point. This one I'm just going to stop when I hit that line. You don't even need to keep going, okay? All right, so there's my other box. You guys can practice shading these. If you can draw boxes in two-point perspective, and if you remember these steps, the vertical, connect to both vanishing points, verticals, crisscross, That is the basis of our treehouse. On our treehouse project, we're gonna go in, we're gonna start adding doors. So the edges of the door will be vertical. But remember, any horizontals in perspective, the door is not gonna look like this. It's not gonna be perfectly horizontal anymore. What's gonna happen is the top of that door is gonna slant down to the left vanishing point. So the side of the door that is farther away from our view is gonna appear smaller. And that's just part of viewing perspective, okay? Same will go for windows. If you're drawing a window, the edges of the window will still be vertical, but then the top of the window will slant down to your vanishing point. So if I'm working on the right, the top of that window will slant down to the right. Okay, the edges of the window still have to be perfectly vertical. You don't want them slanting out like that. Look at your center line. Look at the edge of your paper. Make sure the edge of your window is a perfect vertical. Okay, but that's kind of the basics for the treehouse, guys. If you can do that, you'll be good.